Hey guys, welcome to this sunny day here, and if you're new to archery, this video is for you. I have been getting loads and loads of requests on how to shoot a bow, how to choose the right bow, all that sort of things. So I just thought, well, I'll give it a whirl and I'll try to make a video where I explain the basics of choosing a bow and choosing arrows and how to shoot them. The main thing to know about archery is that there is no single right type of bow and no single right way of shooting them. For the most part, there are some small tweaks and whatnot, but we have some different styles of bows, and they all require different styles of shooting or invite different styles of shooting. You have, let's break it into three major groups. We have traditional archery, we have Olympic recurve, and we have compound archery. Now, the latter two of them, I do not have any experience with them, so I can't give you any advice on those. Olympic archery is the main sports type of archery being practiced in the world, and there are loads of clubs who can teach you how to shoot these. There's very specific type of aesthetic ways to shoot, and this is very technical, and I advise you to visit a club if you want to get into that. There is as well in compound is a very different type of shooting to traditional archery, and also there's some other techniques and some other ways of drawing a bow, and I would advise that you seek out somebody who has more experience with those if you want to learn about that. What I want to tell you about today is traditional archery, and I brought along 5 bows that I think represent this category quite well. Now, even within traditional archery, there are multiple types of bows that invite different types and styles of shooting. For instance, you have English longbows that are meant for long distance shooting, war bows, and there are regular longbows, there are recurves, hybrids, self bows, horse bows, and Asiatic war bows. And I would advise you to pick one to start out with, and to get to know that style and type of bow before you move on to another one. The key to learning archery and to be good at it is to be consistent, doing things consistently. And if you choose multiple bows and multiple arrows and multiple styles of shooting, your learning progress will be slower. So once again, my advice to you is pick one style and master that, not master it, but get to know it well before you get into other styles of shooting. Traditional archery is such as longbows and recurves and hybrid bows all invite the typical same style of shooting, and that's what I'm going to show you today. I'll start out with showing you a classic self bow. These aren't usually mass produced. These are made by bowyers that make low numbers of them, and this is kind of the passion, and they are actually very nice to shoot. They're very soft and smooth, but they usually do not have arrow shelves where you can rest the arrow when you're aiming. So this invites oftenly most instinctive shooting. I'll get back to that term later. The great thing about self bows is you can also make them yourself. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. I'll show you a bit on how to shoot them later. Then you have I would say classic longbow as of today. Reflex deflex longbow with a pistol grip and an arrow shelf, and this is a laminated bow with a wooden core and then fiberglass on the outer parts, and this makes for a very, very durable bow that you can have years and years, and they're good shooters. Then we move into a hybrid bow. It's actually a bit the same as a long bow, but way very much shorter, and still have some reflex deflex design, where it first bends backwards then forwards, giving it a very fast cast at high arrow speeds for the draw weight, and very nimble little bows, and most of them aren't approved for international competitions, so that you might want to go with a regular longbow for that. And moving on to let's say a classic recurve, nowadays anyways, the recurve comes from the tip actually pointing forwards, way forwards, much more than you would get from a hybrid bow, and definitely more than a longbow that hasn't got recurved tips. A recurve has a contact here, so when the string actually touches the limbs, that's a recurve. And a recurve bow with the same poundage draw weight as a longbow would usually be faster. This means higher arrow speeds, and therefore also more power at the target, or if you go hunting, more power at the animal, making a higher kill rate. And this is also a laminated bow. You can get them as self bows, but more expensive and harder to come by because they're not made in high numbered shots. These are made in a factory. Moving on to the next one, the more special one is the horse bows. The horse bow is also actually, it would call a reflex bow, but it's has very reminiscent of the recurves, but much shorter. This one is actually a long horse bow at 52 inches from nock to nock. And I'll explain some physics about the bows later, what all these different kind of numbers mean. But short because it's meant to be short of a horseback, and you don't want to be stabbing your horse or smacking your horse with your bow. So a short one, but with long draw lengths. These are very fast. Again, much faster than a long bow at the same poundage. And this one again has no shelf and invites a different style of shooting that I would not get into today because this is advanced stuff. So I will be showing you how to shoot a regular laminated longbow. You could apply this to regular recurves and hybrid bows and whatever. But first, some physics about the bows. When you see a bow, you see a length and a draw weight. The length is referring to the length measured along the belly. This is the belly, this is the back. Measured from nock, where you put the string on the bow, from nock inside the belly to the other nock. That is the bow length that is described here on the belly. And the other number you saw, 45, that is the draw weight, the amount of force it takes to draw the bow, and this is measured at 28 inches from here to out. That is where it is measured at this power. So if you draw longer than 28 inches, then your draw weight will be higher. If you draw shorter, your poundage will also be consistently lower, and this affects what kind of arrows you choose and what poundage you should actually choose. Because if you want a specific poundage at your specific draw length, then that would require you to choose a bow with that specific weight draw length combination. What's more to be said, there are different styles of grips. This one is a pistol grip, looks like a pistol, yeah, and this one is a locator grip, where it has this indent here where your palm will sit. Now, before we get into shooting, I would like to introduce you to some basic accessories that you might need for shooting. First off is the arm guard. It goes here on your forearm to prevent string slap, and comes in handy specifically for beginners. Once you get into archery, you can actually, there are some hacks as to how to avoid being string slapped, even if you don't use an arm guard. If you shoot self bows or bows without shelf, then you might want a shooting glove. This one has is more padded where the arrow would rest, but again there are hacks as to advices how to avoid the feathers, the fletching, biting you without using this. Then there is the tap. Oops. To pull the string and to prevent the pressure of the string biting into your fingers. That could be quite painful. So you can shoot bare fingered, but if you shoot a lot, that would mean you get a lot of tough skin in your hands and blisters and whatnot. Then we have a shooting glove, which I prefer because I think it gives me better control over the arrow. See, once again it has padding here and on the fingertips to prevent the string from leaving a mark. Now, when you start shooting, you will start to notice that it can be quite tough on your muscles and your fingers, and you need to take it slow at first, because you can actually get both temporary or permanent nerve damage if you overdo it. So try not to do that, specifically where the string sits or where the bow sits on your hand. So that being said, let's get into how to shoot the bow. Everybody knows how to shoot a bow, right? Not like that. That's just the basics. But when you hold the bow, don't squeeze it. Not with these types of bows. With English longbows, that's another thing. But with regular bows with pistol grips and locator grips, don't squeeze it. If you squeeze it, you torque the bow, usually, leaving, when you release the arrow, you can torque the bow, leaving the arrow to go off in an unwanted direction. So just slightly hold the bow, don't squeeze it. Then when you hold it, try just to use your index finger and your thumb, maybe your middle finger just to support, leaving your knuckles in a 45-degree angle from the perpendicular bow. This has a very obvious advantage. I'll show you. I just move to the other side. See, when you grip the bow, look at the string touching the forearm. If you hold hold the bow at a 45-degree angle, your forearm goes free of the string. This is a huge advantage, leaving the arm guard obsolete. So once you've got grip of the bow, then you need to decide how to draw it. There are lots of ways to draw a bow. The two most commonly used in Western archery is Mediterranean 3-finger split, where you split your fingers and pinch down on the arrow, or 3 under, where you use a knocking point. So the see the knocking point there. So the arrow doesn't slip off the string when you hold 3 under. If you have the split, you have supported the arrow. So choose one, and then you have to choose an anchor point, a point on your face where you come to every time you draw the bow. Doesn't matter if you use your index finger or your thumb, you can use both thumb or index finger to find a spot on your face to come to every time. You can also use kissers to get into your mouth groove, or you can put your little finger in the corner of your mouth. Doesn't matter, just pick one and stick with it. See the consistency, sticking with the same procedure every time you have this shooting cycle. You pull the string through your face, makes you more consistent and makes it easier to be accurate over at the target. That's kind of the basics on how to hold the bow and how to grip the string. Now to how to pull it. Many have a tendency to pull the string inwards towards the chest at first. This is wrong. You can do it, of course, do whatever you like, but if you do this, means you you strain your shoulder and back and your chest muscles in an unwanted way. Plus, it makes it harder to aim because the arrow is nowhere near your eyes, so you have a hard time figuring out where the arrow lands. You can do it this way. It's harder, and kudos to you if you can do it, but start out making things easier for yourself. So once you have your grip, hold the bow, don't overextend your joint, bit down so you can use your muscles, that's better. You can leave it stiff, but be careful not to push it up. Then you draw to your anchor point, and then you release the string, bringing your hand back in a straight line from the arrow. Now, when you do this, okay, use your back muscles to kind of squeeze. Imagine an orange or a tennis ball behind your shoulder blade, between your shoulder blades, and try to squeeze that with your back muscles. And you can push your chest a bit forward to accommodate that. But you have to draw in a straight line. Straight back. Don't pull outwards, and don't pluck the string. Not outwards. Just let it slide off. See? Just let it slide off ever so gently. And you have to place the string at the first groove of the joints here. Yeah? So just let it slide off. Don't plug it. If you do that, you get this motion, and the arrow will flutter on the way to the target. So, draw and then release. If you use back tension, then your elbow will go backwards instead of upwards or downwards, and then you have this motion here, leaving the arrow going straight. Now I have a target set up over there. I'm gonna shoot it and show you the basics once again. Right. So you have to have a straight line from the arrow tip to the tip of your elbow here, as much as possible. Yeah. Oops. That was nice, eh? So here. Pull back and release. Should get this motion when releasing the arrow. This will let your fingers slide off, and your back tension is good. Now you have to practice this a lot, and you won't get it right the first time, or the first 20 times, or the first 50 times, but eventually you'll get there, and this will make you more accurate. Let's just run it over a few more times, and then I'll get into sight picture, how to aim and see your target and what to account for. Knock the arrow, get that reassuring click, point, don't squeeze, just hold it, draw ever so slightly, and let your fingers go. Once again. Knock it, hear that click. This is a very pronounced click, it doesn't always have to be like that, it depends on the knock. Right, hold it up there, draw, and release. Now you have to shoot up or down, not perpendicular, but up or down. You tilt your entire upper body, because if you only if you only change elevations on your bow arm, that means you either extend or shorten your draw length, leaving your arrow to travel at a different speed, making it harder to calculate where you'll hit on your target. Great, so let's try to work on the sight picture. Right, so now I'm sitting between you, the camera, and the bow. There's your camera sitting between the bow and me, so I can't draw it properly. But you notice the indentation here. It's not a complete center shot with this bow, meaning the arrow goes slightly left if it's not spined correctly. Spined is the flexibility of the arrow shaft. But what you do here is you point. Let's see, get a better angle here. That's better. So you can either use perpendicular, so the tips pointing straight up and down. This means that, just lift you up a bit, that the bow would block your vision. Now if you cant that a bit, then you can actually see your target, and you have to account for the angle of the bow, not the bow, the angle of the arrow when it leaves the bow. So this is your sight picture. So if you cant it just a little bit, then you can actually bring that target. So we are bring that target into view. If your arrow is spined correctly according to the bow, then the arrow will flex around the bow and travel in a straight line. If it's too flexible, it will flutter on the way to the target and might not hit where you want it to. So, see here, then pull straight back. It's different with this camera angle. So pull straight back and release. So that is the sight picture. Now, if you use free finger split and your target is close, then you have to actually aim a bit lower because your anchor point changes. So you're here, contrary here, there. Now, at a specific distance, your arrow will travel straight, in a straight line, until at such time it loses speed, and it will, let's see if I can explain it. When your arrow leaves your bow, it has a specific speed. It will lose speed on its way to the target. At a specific point, the arrow will lose enough speed for the gravity of the earth to take over and pull it towards the earth. So if your target is beyond that specific point, then you actually have to gap shoot and point above the target in order for the arrow to hit it. So that's gap shooting below or over, and it's actually called stacking if you shoot above, and gap shooting when you shoot under. But that's the general idea. Now, I talked to you a bit about arrows, and I think I'll jump into that one now. See you in a sec. Right, arrow spine. Arrow spine is not like a spine on your back. It is the flexibility. It's a term of flexibility of the arrow shaft. This flexibility is affected by multiple factors, such as draw weight of the bow, length of the arrow, weight of the tip. If you have a heavy tip, then the arrow will flex more, trying to push it forward, meaning you have to have a slightly stiffer arrow. A longer shaft will also flex more, traveling to the target, if it's longer compared to if it's short. See, it's less flexible, more flexible. So you need to take all this into consideration. If you have a long draw length, then you have to go slightly above the usual spine recommended for a specific draw weight. But there are spine charts to help you with this, where they tell you if you have an arrow length of this proportion and you have tip weight of this proportion, then you need to have this specific spine. You can go over or above just a tad, not leaving too much of a difference. But if you go over spine on a bow, then your arrow will travel left, because it doesn't flex around the bow as it leaves. So it will be affected by the bow all the way going left. If your arrow is under spine, it will flex, but it can flex too much, as I said before, not hitting the target where you want it to. So you can shoot over spined arrows with any bow. You just have to account for that going left part. So you actually have to aim right of the target in order to hit it. You should always try to strive to get the correct spine arrow for your bow, but if you haven't got the possibilities for that, you can work around it. So I also told you that when shooting a bow without an arrow shelf, you could use a glove to avoid fletch bite. But you can also, when you have your arrow knot, see, if it goes completely straight, then you might get bitten by the tips of the feathers. But if you knock it just half an inch higher, it will actually travel over, leaving your knuckles intact. Let's see that. No fletch bite. None at all. So, I think that was it for now. Like I said, you can apply these information to most bows, besides horse bows and English long bows with a different or Olympic recurve or compound. But traditional bows with an arrow shelf, these advices would work for you. So that's how to shoot the bow. And in terms of what sort of bow you should choose, I would recommend starting with a longbow. It's a smoother experience, and you don't get punished if you make mistakes quite as much as opposed to a shorter hybrid or recurve. And the horse bows are an entirely different matter. So I would advise with a simple reflex deflex longbow with a narrow shelf will get you a long way, and then stick with it until you've gotten to know it. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you would like to see more of this. I also have some reviews of bows, more coming, and give it a thumbs up if you like the video. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you around. Bye.